Okie doke, guys. So, I told you I was going to look at the Zino camera here and find out why I was getting blurry footage, and I've noticed it for a little while now, and I think it's time to, address it. Because obviously, I'm not taking good footage right now. So, over here I have a pile of 4 screws, and this is the back of the camera. To take all of this stuff off, you'll need a fairly small screwdriver to do it. I'm also going to suggest that you need a knife and a nice little pair of pliers. Be very careful when doing this, because this is a very touchy little setup. I'm not sure if my autofocus is going to be able to get in here. It seems to be having a real issue focusing on the main portion of this, but there's a ribbon cable. I've pulled the camera forward here. This is the lens right there, and on the front of the lens, see if I can pull this out carefully. You got to be real careful with this stuff. If you'll notice, there's a lens right there, and on the front of it there's some little teeth. I'm actually going to grab my pliers. I'm going to hold the edge of this carefully like so, and then I'm going to take my knife and I'm slowly going to rotate the lens to the right, and I'm only going to go about that much, like maybe a notch over, and we'll see if that fixes the problem. Before I put it all back together, like put the whole back on it and stuff, I'll go ahead and leave that off. We'll just put the 2 screws in, take it out tomorrow for a flight, and see if that fixed the issue. I'll show you some footage previous to the footage I'll be taking right now, so you guys can see the difference and see if that correction of the lens actually solves the problem, because I don't think it's firmware. When I got this, it took pretty good footage. I'm thinking this kind of vibrated loose, and if it did, and this solves the problem, I'm probably going to put a dab of hot glue on the front of the lens to keep it from moving, because maybe vibrations is what got it to come loose. I don't know. It could have just been the cold weather, but I have always noticed this camera's been slightly out of focus anyway, so I think this needs to be done. So we're just going to crank that lens a little bit to the right, and then we'll test it. Just be very careful when doing this. This is not a joke. Now, guys, I'm not going to make a whole video showing how to do it completely, because there's tons of them out there. Honestly, this is probably the easiest thing you could possibly do to the Zino next to the battery mod. So let's just knock this out. I'll show you some previous footage. We'll turn this to the right. I'm going to make a mark so I can see exactly where the lens started and how far I've turned it, and then we'll keep turning it from there and until we find our happy median and see if that solves the problem. Okay? Alrighty, guys, so I'm out here at the Sulphur Springs water tower. Most of you guys know I fly out here. There's the tower. And I told you I was doing some work on the Hubsan Zino lens. I didn't know, when we took it to Colorado, we weren't sure what the blurring was about. It was blurring really bad. It's making some really rough footage. Anyways, tore the camera out and had a look at it, and I went ahead and cranked down the lens a few turns, and we're going to see if that solved the out of focus blurry effect. I don't think it's firmware related, because it's had the same firmware since I got it. When I got this thing, it took really good footage, and over time it seems to have progressively degraded that footage. So unfortunately though, when I took the camera out of this, I think I dinged the lens, and so we're going to put it up today and see if I put a big mar in the lens. If I did, I need to track down a way to change the lens out inside the camera. It's a very simple looking lens, but I did some research and I have yet to be able to actually find just the lens itself. They'll sell you the whole gimbal and camera assembly for $119, but I don't want to do that. There's got to be a way to just replace that camera lens. So I've been seeking other means, and it got me on this track of finding maybe even a better camera that it might accept and actually take higher resolution footage in actual 4K. So we're going to put this up today and see if I screwed up the camera and see if it's got a big ding in it. I don't think I'm going to notice it too much until I point it at the sun, but this is the first time it's going up since I tried to repair, and we'll see what happens. These things happen, so hopefully, even with the scratch, I can physically see it. When I look inside the camera lens, I can see there's a big scratch right in the middle of it. However, stranger things have happened. Sometimes it won't affect the footage at all. We're going to put this up and see if the outside blurring effect has dissipated, because that'll tell me whether the fix worked or not. But if I did mar up the lens, then I'm in for a camera system on this, and unless I can find someone that supplies the actual camera and lens just to attach to the ribbon cable that's in there, then I might be in for a whole new gimbal system on this and camera. We'll see. Let's put this up, see what kind of footage we can get.
and she lives for me. Says she lives for motivation. Her own motivation. She comes round and she goes down on me, and I'll make you smile like a drug for you. Do ever what you wanna do, coming over you. Keep on smiling what we go through. One stop to the rhythm that divides you, and I speak to you like the chorus to the verse. Drop another line like a coda with the curse. Coming like a freak show takes the stage. We give them the games they play. She say I want something else to get me through this semi-time kind of life. Baby, baby, I want something else. I'm not listening when you say goodbye. The sky was gold, it was rose. I was taking sips of it to my nose, and I wish I could get back there, someplace back there, smiling in the pictures you would take. To a climb, it'll lift you up until you break. It won't stop. I won't come down and keep stop with the tick-tock rhythm. I bumped for the drop and then I bumped up. I took the hit that I was given, then I bumped again, then I bumped again. I said, how do I get back there to the place where I fell asleep inside you? How do I get myself back to the place where you said I want something else to get me through this semi-time kind of life? Baby, baby, I want something else. I'm not listening when you say goodbye. I believe in the sand beneath my toes. The beach gives a feeling, an earthy feeling. I believe in the faith that grows, and the full line chords can make me cry. When I'm with you, I feel like I could die, and that would be alright.
So here's the deal. I cranked that lens over 2 or 3 good turns, and I'm starting to think it's some kind of weird firmware software blur that's taking place. I don't even know if it is the camera. But the good thing is that mark is not noticeable. Even though I can physically see it on the lens, it doesn't seem to appear in the footage, and it doesn't seem to be messing with the footage at all. So that's a plus. I don't have to replace the camera. I still want to push forward with seeing if I can find another camera for it to make it better, but it doesn't seem to affect it. Now that was 4K at 30 frames per second. You will notice there is a lot of definition loss in that footage. I have seen Hubsan Zinos perform better. So this is either firmware, or I'm willing to take the camera lens a few more clicks to see what happens, but I'm thinking this might be firmware related. So it's definitely better than it was. I definitely brought in some of the clarity. However, it seems to be like GoPro spot metering. It seems to be focusing on the center focal point as being the, in focus area, and then the outside seems to have blurring effect to it. It's really strange. It's like GoPro spot metering is what it seems to be. There's no that's not a feature that's offered in the Hubsan Zino, so that would lead me to believe this is firmware related somehow. And so I'm going to have to ask a few questions, talk to a few friends that have these, and see what they've come up with. But it's just really strange. It just kind of happened. Now, it might have been the cold weather that did something to the drone, but I find that hard to believe. So I think I'm just running into some kind of problem, and it may need a hard reset to fix the problem. We'll find out. I'm going to keep going. We're going to turn that camera a few more notches, see what happens. It's definitely better than it was in Colorado. That is a given. It looks way more clear. Both of those videos were shot in 4K, the Colorado one and here. You will notice there is no definition in the rock formation. When I was climbing up that mountain, there was just like, bleh, just looked like, so that was really depressing. But I was definitely seeing a lot more definition in the city and mountain or city area around here, and the greens and the tower, everything was in focus. So I don't know. Could be cold weather related, could be a few things. I'm going to do some research. Right now, I'm going to turn that camera lens a few more and see what happens. So wish me luck. Let's see if we can get to the bottom of this. I'll catch you guys on the flip. To the real.
Go home, folks.